Hi, welcome back to Bobchi's Corner. We're in Bobchi's kitchen, my kitchen, and I thought I'd have you join me while I make my weight loss soup for the upcoming week. So let's get to it. So I started chopping up some of my carrots. These are carrots that I received in one of my flash food orders. So I'm just using those up. I'm gonna chop them up and add them to the pot. I also have a couple of bell peppers. These are the leftovers that I had in a little baggie in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to chop those up. So I have a whole bell pepper here that is starting to go a little wrinkly, also from the flash food bag. So I'm also adding this in, get it used up and out of the refrigerator. So of course, also next is an onion, which I have in one of my, it's one I've been using during the week, and I keep in my resealable bag. But I figured let me chop this up and throw that in there as well. I purchased a small head of cabbage for this soup. I always like to have cabbage in my soups. I'm only going to use a half a head of cabbage for this. So as you can see, I'm not sauteing anything. I'm just dumping everything into the pot. The flame is not on. I'm just chopping and dumping. I'm going to use up some of the squash that I have in my freezer. You can see there's a lot of ice buildup on it. So it's time to get it out and use it up. I also pulled broccoli out of the freezer, and that too had all the ice build up on it, so I took it and ran it under hot water, and also just to thaw it out a little bit so it makes it easy to cut. I also pulled out some frozen spinach I had in the freezer, and I put that in the pot. I didn't videotape that. I thought my camera was running, but I also decided to go and grab a couple of jars of tomatoes. These are tomatoes from Flash Food. Got a bunch of them in the freezer. I decided to can some up. So all I did was stuff tomatoes into these jars and I canned them up. So now I'm going to use these tomatoes in this soup. Now I'm going to add some of my green beans that I dehydrated a while ago. These were originally frozen and I just wanted to get them out of my freezer, so I put them on the dehydrator. These are great for this type of cooking because the broth of the soup will rehydrate the green beans. I decided to throw in some of these veggie flakes that I vacuum sealed, so I thought this would be a good way to use some of these up. Next, I'm adding my chicken bone broth that I canned up in June, and it looks like this pot is getting just a little bit full. I always do that. And then my garlic broth that I also made and canned up. I love that garlic broth. So now it's time to put the cover on and light the stove and let it start to heat up. I realized that I forgot to add the bay leaves. I also decided to put a little bit of salt and pepper at this time. So as you see, this pot is pretty full. You would think I would learn after all these years to start off with the right size pot. So I decided I'm going to be moving it into a bigger pot. So now that it's in a bigger pot, let's start adding more stuff. That's how my brain works, and then I'll probably need an even bigger pot than this by the time I'm done. So I added the rest of my garlic broth. I decided to add some frozen riced cauliflower. Why not? I have a bigger pot now. At this point, I'm going to start adding my spices and flavorings. So I'm going to start off with my garlic. And as you'll see, I don't measure. I am just pouring it on. Next are the parsley flakes. I went ahead and covered it up at this point for a little while just to let it heat through, come back up to temperature. So now that I brought it back up to temperature a little bit, I took the cover off, stirred it, and now I'm going to be adding my taco seasoning. I'll leave the taco seasoning recipe in my description box below. And this too I will not measure. I'm just going to pour it in there and adjust my seasoning at the end. More than likely I'll need more. So the reason I call this my weight loss soup is because this is what I eat before lunch to hold me over until lunch. I don't eat breakfast anymore, so I'm trying to do this little intermittent type of a fast. And this soup doesn't contain any protein, no carbs, no beans, no corn, nothing that will interfere with my so-called fasting. And this will hold me over until lunch. I decided to add a can of diced tomatoes with chilies and a can of chilies at this point. Why not? I got a bigger pot now, don't I? Let's see if I can get this pot filled up right to the rim. I bet you thought I was joking. Well, I decided to add some more dehydrated green beans here. It's almost to that rim. Let's see what happens. So the soup's been on the stove covered for a little bit now, and I decided I'm going to take a little taste test to see if I need to add any more salt or sugar, or not sugar. And it looks like more taco seasoning will do the trick. So this soup is going to sit here for most of the day simmering to soften up the cabbage and the veggies. Um, and to have the green beans rehydrate. So this will be on the stove for quite a while. So at this point, I would just like to say thank you for joining me at Babchi's Corner in my kitchen, Babchi's Kitchen. So until next time, I hope to see you soon.